Now, at the moment, we only give a 10% probability to that scenario. It's a wild card scenario, but it's something you have to bear in mind. You wouldn't play that scenario in the UK, you wouldn't play that scenario in the US, but we play it in South Africa. I'm afraid to say it's part of Africa that you do play ultimate downside scenarios. And there are certain flags which we're watching very carefully as to whether we actually jump that probability of 10% into a possibility. The first flag is nationalization of the mines. We think that would be an unbelievably bad flag being sent to the world. I mean, articles have already been written in the Washington Post and Financial Times about the impact that it would have on investment in South Africa if the mines were nationalized. The second is an unreasonable acquisition of land, not obviously a reasonable land reform, but unreasonable land acquisition. Chantal and I, in January 2008, facilitated a strategy session for ZANU-PF. We had senior cabinet ministers and we had some party officials and economists and some businessmen. One of the things that came out in the discussion was that Zimbabwe actually had a fantastic session during the 1990s. They had 7 to 8% economic growth for most of the 90s. The first land invasion happened at the end of the 90s, and they hit the wall. They didn't decline, they hit the wall. And we feel exactly the same would happen with South Africa. So we're not talking about a flag which has a gradual effect. We're talking about a flag that has a shock effect. The third flag is a softer flag. It's the media tribunal. It'll basically change our brand overseas from being the one truly liberal democratic state in Africa to where we're basically joining the rest of Africa where freedom is restricted. So we're saying to all our clients, watch these flags, because if they go up and jump the probability on the failed state, you better start working out what your diversification strategy is for your business. Are you going to diversify into the rest of Africa? Are you going to diversify overseas? What are you going to do about the failed state scenario? At the moment, then, we're left with Premier League, Second Division. And we have 3 flags that we tell South Africans to watch, to decide whether we're going up or whether we're going down. The first flag is inclusive leadership. You know, we looked at the nations that have gone fastest up the Premier League, and they show a unity of spirit, patriotism. Number 1 in the Premier League at the moment is Singapore, city-state. After the Second World War, it was a basket case, but in came Lee Kuan Yew, a strong leader, restored national pride, put an emphasis on education. Now they're number 1. Number 2 is Hong Kong, and we all know how patriotic the Chinese are. Number 3 is America, and of course, that's the Stars and Stripes. In South Africa, we give Jacob Zuma a tick in this category at the moment. We feel that he has been an inclusive leader with his appointments inside and outside of cabinet, certainly in his presidential themes, and thirdly, by trying to send his extremists on anger management courses. But of course, there is a flag to watch, which is this week, the National General Council, to see whether there are real cracks opening in the alliance. Because we think that's a bad thing. I mean, I know that the argument is that it's good for democracy, and yes, I think it is good for democracy in the long run. But in the short run, any real split within the alliance will be viewed overseas as a sign of political instability. The second flag is around pockets of excellence. This country, in virtually any field you care to name, has pockets of excellence. And if we use those pockets of excellence to raise the performance of other players, good flag. If we dumb down the pockets of excellence, bad flag. In government, we all moan about service delivery in government, but there's one world-class government department, SARS. South African Revenue Service is as good as any revenue collection agency in America or Europe. In fact, it's more internet savvy. It's easier to pay your tax on the internet here than it is overseas. In health, we have a little hospital in South Africa, which is run by the state, which is now regarded as one of the best in the world. It's called the Red Cross Children's Hospital in Rondebosch. In fact, people send their kids from overseas to get treatment at this hospital. If that little hospital is used to raise the performance of the major players like Grootskeur, Baragwanath, Joburg Gen, good flag. If that little hospital gets dumbed down, bad flag. Education. We have 28,000 schools in this country, of which 5,000 are reasonable and 2,000 are excellent. If we use those 5,000 schools to raise the performance of the other schools, great flag. If we dumb down those 5,000 schools, that has to be the worst flag of all. And that's why it concerns me that COSATU is calling for the ban on private schools. You just have to look at what it's done to the UK. I mean, the dumbing down of the education system in the UK is probably the worst thing that's happened in the last 20 years, because now they don't produce anything that the rest of the world wants. And so there is a huge problem in the UK. So the second flag revolves around how we treat pockets of excellence. The third flag is around creating a balanced economy, an outward-looking economy that earns us enough foreign exchange to pay for our imports, and an inward-looking economy that creates jobs. Now, as far as the outward-looking economy is concerned, you have to play to your spaces, and there are three spaces which we regard as spaces that South Africa can dominate. Number one is resources. We're still a resource-rich nation, despite the decline in gold and diamond production. We're number one in platinum, chrome, manganese, lots of high-grade iron ore, lots of coal. But we must add value where we can to our resources. The second is tourism. I mean, we had this fabulous experience with the World Cup. We must use it to basically improve our brand as a major tourist destination. But it's the third space which we feel South Africans overlook. We are the gateway into Africa, and Africa is opening up for business. Ever since The Economist wrote that famous article in May 2000, where they called Africa the hopeless continent, Africa has outperformed the global economy in every single year by at least 2% per annum. So much for the predictive capability of The Economist. And we are the largest economy in Africa. We're 30% of Africa's GDP, with a little less than 5% of Africa's population. We are the America of Africa, and they want our technologies, they want our skills. I always quote the example of MTN. MTN is the largest cellular network in Nigeria. It's the largest cellular network in Sudan. In fact, it's becoming the largest cellular network in Iran. It has more Iranian subscribers now than South African subscribers.